Welcome to Psychic Holistic Spotlight. I'm Bill Hannon, your host tonight with Ken Demers, and we are interviewing a couple of women that we know from the Ocean State Herbal Association. Leslie Willard, proprietress of the
herb wife.
I know, my goodness. And Maggie Haspanian, who also is an herbalist, but she also has a very strong background in the scientific RN nursing field that she's able to pull a lot of information together for the community. So Ken, you mentioned before that you had not that much of a knowledge about, but what about culinary uses? I know you have.
No. I'm more interested in her aspect of it, where she's trying to blend it into multi-modalities of healing, I guess would be the proper word to say. And my question is how do you blend it? And is the official medical community open to the blending at all?
Oh, wow, good question. Yeah. Well, the traditional Western community is definitely changing. They're learning more in med schools about nutrition and about herbal supplementation. It's still in the context of how that might not be good for the patients and how it might, they'll learn about if you're on a particular medication, taking a particular herb would
Negative affect
the prescription medication. Like
do they talk about the positive effects?
I believe some of that has been introduced in medical school curriculum. Not a lot, but in the already working community, though, there are a lot of physicians. I know a lot of nurses, but physicians who are branching out. There's a group. And reaching out to the alternative communities. There's a group called Alternative Medicine at Brown, and they hold public forum with anyone. We've attended many times.
What kind of forum?
Well,
I mean, strictly herbs, or do they hands-on healing, or what other form?
Yeah, the man who set it up,
modalities.
Sean McGonigal, is a MD, and he's also a homeopath, and he'll invite different people to speak on different subjects. A year ago or so, Mary Blue is an herbalist in Rhode Island,
right.
From Pharmacy Herbs, and she spoke on herbal medicine. And then the following month was maybe someone talking about craniosacral therapy and
which
massage.
Is great stuff.
And so it's definitely an alternative. It varies every month, but it's open to the public. And so he's one doctor I know reaching out to the other communities, and so. It's happening.
Now,
it's beginning to bridge.
Do you do anything
on a formal level? Yeah.
Other than official RN work, do you do forms of working with patients, or
mostly?
I'm not sure how to ask the question.
That I have a clinical herbalist practice.
I guess that would be a nice word to say.
I think that's what you're getting at. Yeah. Well. Right now, I'm sort of beginning to do that. I mostly work with friends and family still.
Okay, because it's hard to find a place to do it.
That is one part of it, yeah. I don't have an office or a space where I could do clinical work. Yeah, that's part of it.
And there's a lot of resistance to acceptance of it?
Yeah, you have to find people who are open to it.
Yeah.
And even though I have an herb shop and I'm an herbalist, as well as other practices that I do, I find that in my little community, you find with our little group, of course, we're all open to that. But when you go out into the wider world, most people aren't interested in that kind. They're ready to go to the doctor or the drugstore rather than get herbs or alternative medicine.
I had an issue with heartburn one time, severe. And I'm a veteran, so I go into the veteran hospital, and they got me sleeping at funny angles and doing this and doing that. And I happened to be with Ronald Berry, Native American medicine man, and he suggested, I asked him, he's teaching about different kinds of herbs. I said, what about heartburn? He says, oh, look at slippery elm.
Yeah.
Right. What does that mean? What does that do for you? So
It's
I
a
walked
demulcin and it's
into this wonderful
mucilaginous,
little
yeah.
herb shop in Wickford called the Herb Wife. The woman standing in front of me was buying slippery elm. So I asked her, what do you do with it? She told me just put it in a cup of tea and drink it, put some molasses in it to make it taste better. 2 days it was gone. So for $2.80, it lasted me 2 years. And I understand these traditional pills are substantially more expensive. I don't know. But
And they usually address, the allopathic world usually addresses the symptoms. They usually don't go towards the root cause, which is what you actually
Exactly.
did by getting the slippery elm. You are actually coating your gullet,
that's what it was.
basically to
Giving it a time to heal. The best part of this story is, though, one time I was in there for another procedure, and I was talking to one of the nurses, and there was a young doctor there. I don't know what they would, intern, I guess. And we were talking about that, and I says, "Oh, I take slippery elm," and he started laughing. He thought that was such a big joke that somebody would take the bark of a tree and use it to treat something.
right.
Well, you got to remember, before they had pharmaceuticals, that's how people used their medicine, was plants. Everything was
Aspirin.
plant-based.
The allopathic world still uses as a base for most of the 30% of the medicine that's out there is from an herbal
Plant
base.
derivative.
That's right.
Yep.
All indigenous
them.
cultures use plant-based
Digitalis,
medicine.
which they use for heart, I was from Foxglove. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah. There's just so much out there. But the thing is, what they do is the allopathic world dials it down, isolates the active ingredient, but does not include the buffers, which the plant does. So now they're taking
Stronger.
it doesn't have the buffers. So what happens is the people have side effects.
That's it.
When you take the buffers that come with the plant will help you heal, but will help you heal in a balanced way rather than now you have side effects, so now you treat that side effect and then you go get another medicine, allopath. Believe me, I tell you, if I'm in a car accident or something happens to me drastic, don't take me to a chiropractor. Take me to the hospital.
Or to the herb shop.
Take me to the hospital.
Yeah.
Address the acute situation. But most of the things that plague people today are chronic situations, and most chronic situations can be addressed through many modalities.
Yeah, I tend to agree with that. But many years ago on this show, we had the girl from Bristol. We had a young lady that was like 20 years old. She was a medical anthropologist. I can't remember her name. And she had gone to Africa to study the native medicine person. So she's in this little mud hut, and he starts mixing up a batch of stuff. An hour later, a lady came walking in the door that medicine was for. So there's another...
That's a shamanic component.
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
another
There's a
side
whole
to this
mystical, yeah.
that you or her are not doing. Not because you don't... Well, to a certain point.
You don't know that.
Well, you don't know that. But I'm saying that most herbalists are not that extra step, which was traditional.
Well, that's part of the control thing, if you let go.
Well, I think there's one thing I wanted to sort of add to something that Bill was saying, and it ties into that.
Okay.
And because what happens is the plants do it. And I know that sounds a little out there.
No,
but,
not really.
But and what Bill was saying about how
buffers.
plant derivatives are used in pharmaceutical medicine, and the same thing in the herbal community. We have lots of companies now making herbal supplements, and there's
Standardized.
a strong sort of divide now with herbalists and people that use plants as medicine, that the whole plant is very important, to take the whole plant. When they they extract these constituents,
They're taking part A, but not...
not the whole plant.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And there are people studying the whole plant and saying that you need the whole plant to get the medicine that is intended from that plant. If you take parts of it out, you're only getting part of it, part of what the plant can do. So oftentimes when you're taking, like, like time, for instance, we were just talking about that in a previous show about how it has many different properties: bacterial, antiviral, antiseptic, and you can use it to gargle with or to drink when you think you're getting an infection, a viral
tea,
infection, right? Drink it as a tea. But then, like, it's been used for a long time in things like mouthwash. The active ingredient, the
It's
Time
actually is in Listerine.
Right, it's
Right.
the main ingredient in something like
Yeah.
Listerine.
Well,
So that was pulled out and used to clean the teeth. But if you were to take the whole cup, yeah, it would coat your teeth and help your gums and soothe your body.
Okay.
If you ingest it. So it's an interesting subject, actually. There's a lot
There's a lot.
going on in that
It's-
question you
We're
posed.
seeing, generally speaking, we're seeing the surface, but there's
Yes.
multi-layers below that.
Absolutely.
But that most
The average
herbalists understand
practitioners
that.
may or may not be capable of, with very few practitioners being able to do the stuff that are preparing something that 2 hours before somebody walks in the door.
But I think, like a lot of people that are in our group that have been working with plants for a very long time, work with them on different levels.
And with that understanding, though.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do any of them or some of them have a communication with the plant level?
Oh, of course.
All the time.
All the time.
Yeah.
That's what I
We
was
have,
trying to
well,
say.
we've
gotta
had
say
Linda
clearly
Hogan on
enough.
the show. Linda Hogan
Yeah.
talks with the plants, and she's very interested in connections.
And the thing about talking with plants, like, there's a few different writers out there that write about this. Stephen Buhner is one of them that we're all very
Familiar
with,
in
right.
awe of
Right,
his work
right.
and how he can relate it to everybody, right? He's written many, many books
The
about
lost
this.
language of plants, the sacred teaching of plants.
Right.
Right.
Secret
His name
team.
again?
But the plant-
Stephen
Stephen.
Buhner. I was just at a workshop with him on Saturday.
Yeah.
all
Now,
day.
we-
He
Yeah.
talks about how the plants
He
give us the
actually lives in
knowledge.
Arizona.
Yeah.
Okay.
But this is his
Well, let her
last year
finish,
of
yeah.
He
teaching.
talks about how the plants give us the knowledge. They don't sort of stand up and talk, right? But like one example would be, like, I don't know, that medicine person in Africa that you were talking
Yeah,
about.
right.
He probably had them in front of him, and certain ones just looked like the ones that he wanted. And you can't say the plant didn't speak out loud, and he didn't pick it for its name. It's a bit of a mystical process.
Yeah,
but
I
Stephen
thought that he
Buhner
was
talks
maybe
about it.
communicating with that person's soul or something.
Maybe on some level
Or
that
the-
could have been going on.
We don't know. That's the
I don't
problem.
know. Yeah,
We
well,
don't understand it.
People
I
are
think
studying it, and
it works
Stephen
differently
Buhner-
with each person, how they relate to the plants. Everybody has their own way of plant communication.
There's not one answer.
No.
Well, he
there's
talks
not one
about-
vibration. I mean, all different vibrations is what brings about the healing, and whether it's an intellectual, an emotional, a physical.
Mental.
It's
Physical,
usually all of them
spiritual.
together.
Right.
Yeah.
And as these things come together, the person, like Maggie said, something looked like, well, I should be doing something with this for now, and this one, and
I think a certain level of it. That's not. I'm going to change the subject just for a second. Chris McCulloch, who is
Yeah, I know, Chris.
yes.
super all-around metaphysical person. She went to something out in Arizona, and part of what they did during that workshop or class or whatever it was she was doing was communicating with rocks. So once she made that connection, she's driving home through the desert, and rocks are talking to her out. She's
Right.
she's saying, oh, and they're saying, my name is such and such.
Right.
And some of the really old rocks would give her a name as a number. They were so old they didn't have names, but they had numbers. So before she did that workshop, which opened her up to this, and I'm sure she could do the same thing with plants, she didn't do that. So that once somebody starts doing it, they're capable of.
Absolutely. I
Doing
think
it
you
into
just
other
have to
fields?
spend the time and put the energy and the focus into it. You kind of have to quiet yourself down, go outside in nature and sit with some plants.
Hug a tree.
Exactly.
Yeah,
And it's not like you're going to hear little voices in your head.
Yeah.
Some people do, but it's something that you're feeling inside yourself. And
Yeah,
they do speak to you. Like the
Steve-
United Plant Savers has their motto, if you listen, they will
teach you.
They will teach you.
I own a an energy vortex out in Situate, which is very significant. I'm the caretaker of an energy vortex in Situate. And one of the tenants that was living in the house, his boyfriend, his girlfriend was a little sensitive, and she went out there and she picks up an acorn in the backyard and puts it in her pocket. The next day, she's sitting in that backyard and she takes the acorn out of her pocket, and it had sprouted. And as she's sitting there with that acorn, all of a sudden these divas talking to her that are like 50 feet tall, tree divas.
Yeah.
And it was something that she had never, as we talk about this, I get goosebumps. And this was something that she had never experienced before. So she was sitting at the right place with the right instrument
Yeah.
to cause it to come through. And
Yeah.
I suggest that if people care to take a common herb that they know what it's going to do, and they can go into a meditative state and hold that, they might be surprised at what they get. So go out in the world, people, and try it. Okay, how do we find you when we want you? Bill, I think you said you had your phone number up?
Well, yeah, my phone number is, it comes under the Psychic Holistic Spotlight.
Okay, if you want to give a
And
number
we-
also?
Well, or just
she-
that, like, when we meet, is
We
is
meet-
a
what
set
I'm-
day and time?
What I'm trying to find out is when is that, and the
Yeah.
people...
We meet the
We meet
third Thursday of the
every
month.
Where?
At the Herb Wife in Wickford.
Oh.
Yeah.
The
Okay.
place you went to for the slippery elm.
Yeah, same place, 7 o'clock in the evening, and that's a set day and time. And I suppose if someone had other questions
The
about
third-
our group, they could call Bill.
The third Thursday of the month at the...
Herb
Wife.
Wife
At
in
the Herb Wife
Wickford.
in
And the
Wickford.
best part of all, they got a really good ice cream store next door.
Yeah, not too far away.
Not too far yet.
Yep.
That's true.
So how do people start to learn about this? Read,
Well,
go to
it's-
classes?
Both. There's actually a symposium coming up the end of this month. It's the International Herb Symposium, and it's at Wheaton College in Norton, Mass.
And this is like a high-level class?
Oh, my.
Oh, they
It's a whole
it's very high
weekend.
level. It's a whole weekend. It's Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and they run consecutively like 12 classes at a time, each
Right.
session.
Oh, so we're talking
So then you-
multi-thousands of people there.
Teachers
Well, no,
from
I
around
think
the
there'll be
world.
about 800 people there, and there's teachers that come from all over the world.
All over the world. It's
And-
amazing.
Yeah,
The modalities.
and it's hard to pick and choose whose class you
One out
want to
of
go
12,
to.
Yeah, right.
But you can get recordings, and they tape all the.
And specifically, when is this? This show might be after that, I'm not
It's
sure.
the last weekend in June. But then they also have, and of course this is sort of segregated, it's the Women's Herbal Conference. And this has been going on, this is, I think it's 27th year. And that is the third weekend in August up in New Hampshire at
Yeah.
Camp Wickasuta.
Camp
Yeah, and these
Wickasuta.
Yeah,
sort of
it's in
conferences have been
Hebron.
going on for a long time.
Yeah.
What do they
And
cost?
they have from beginner to advanced.
It's
throughout
usually
the
around
weekend.
$300 for the weekend.
Okay, so if somebody's a serious student of this, it's very affordable.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
I think so. And it's worth every penny you pay because they have such phenomenal teachers that come, and you can learn so much
And
in
it's
a short
drivable.
period of time. Yeah.
It's very much commutable. You don't have
Yeah.
to stay in a hotel or whatever else.
No, at Wheaton College they have the dorms that people stay in, but at the women's you can go in the bunkhouses or you
Campsites
can
or-
camp.
So what are you gonna
Camping
teach?
is free. I'm not teaching
You
this
are
time.
the women's, aren't you this year?
No,
Aromatherapy, no?
no, not this year. But I've
Oh,
taught at
that's
past
so fun.
conferences at Green Nations, which is at Rowe Camp and Conference Center.
Do we consider aromatherapy herbs?
It's
Well, it's
plant-based.
plant-based
It's
medicine.
plant-based medicine.
It uses the oil part of the
The
plant.
volatile oils from the plant.
And it's the vibration of the oils that actually brings
So-
about the
little
benefits you're looking
different.
for.
If we take this plant, not this particular plant, if we take this plant and turn it into oil, are we better with the plant or with the oil?
It depends on what
Well, it
you're using it
depends
for.
what you need it for.
I
Yeah.
personally like using the oils because it's very concentrated. It's about 75 to 100 times stronger than the actual plant itself. So it's very potent medicine. So a little bit goes a long way.
Sometimes
For
all
all
you
the
have to
properties
do.
that are in the oil.
Yes,
Sometimes all you have to do is just take a sniff.
yeah, because your olfactory
Brings
nerve
about a shift.
is directly connected to your brain.
So you're back to the vibrational healing.
Yeah, it
yeah.
does work on a physical as well as an energetic level. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I know some people that absolutely
I
prefer it
imagine
over
emotional
herbs.
would come in there also.
Oh, absolutely, yes.
Some, I'm, how do we say, very pro-baby. And I read a lot of stuff about postpartum depression with moms and all that. And I guess that's a big issue in a lot of things. Is there anything that would work for, say, something like that in particular?
In using aromatherapy?
Yeah.
Oh, of course. We were talking about this earlier. Any of the citrus oils are very uplifting, and there's specific ones, especially for women who've had children, that work really good for women. Rose geranium and clary sage work well in combination together. They're hormonal balancers
Right.
as well as antidepressants.
Which
So-
is a
Perfect
great
in
combination for
postpartum.
this particular situation. But I mean, there are other herbs that can be taken as teas. There are other herbs that you can powder form.
Yeah.
Now, you're a
Tinctures?
nurse. What specifically type of nursing do you do?
Yeah, currently I'm, well, for years I worked in emergency medicine.
Okay, so that's not so practical for this stuff.
No, but it did show,
Gives you a
it
good
did show
background.
the clear line to know where, I thought, at least this is what I hope that I've sort of gleaned from that, all that time there, is the line where Western medicine and alternative therapies, where it's important. Western medicine definitely has a place in the world,
Oh,
in
yeah.
our society. And to know when, like when Bill said earlier, if I'm in a car accident, take me to the ER.
Right.
But if my chronic knee pain isn't getting better, I don't want anti-inflammatories, I don't want narcotics, which is what Western medicine offers for something like that. So knowing the difference where each one, I think, so that's big. That's what I think have learned from that. And currently now I work in cardiology,
Hot stuff? Yeah.
heart stuff. Yeah,
What-
so
what
I've
kind of
been
herbs are
learning
we
about
looking
more
for
herbs.
hearts?
Well, it depends on the issues, but for hawthorn,
Hawthornberry?
is
The
yeah,
most common one that's
Very
used.
I don't even know
helpful.
what, I grew up in the woods, but I don't even know what that is.
Well, it's
a tree.
It's a
It's a
tree
plant,
with
yeah. It's
thorns
big
on it this
thorns.
long.
Oh, that I know.
Yes, the hawthorn
big
berry.
thorn berries.
I didn't
Right.
know they had berries. All I knew was the thorns.
That's right. Well,
You have
that's
to
the
get to them before the birds,
one. Right.
but you harvest them usually.
Is that why we have healthy birds?
Could be.
Yeah, no heart disease in the bird population.
But yeah, it's very intriguing to start to try to talk about the blending of it. You know,
Well, you have to look at the component and how education is basically turning around a lot of the stuff that was brought about in the 19th, end of the 19th century, around 1900s. You had people like Rockefeller, who basically, being an oil tycoon, was looking for oils for medicine, and basically he actually used two types of kerosene blended together as chemotherapy, which was very effective as a chemotherapy turn of the
for
century
what?
for cancer.
Cancer.
All right, but what happened was they started isolating components in the chemical world and also from other aspects of the petroleum world, and it was more profitable to do other types of chemo. So then they got away from that. The Merck manual in the 1900s said it was a perfectly safe thing to use for the way that you use it and whatnot. Now they're saying, Merck manual is saying stay away from it because, of course, if people can just take a couple teaspoons of kerosene orally, which not many people would lean towards, the thing is that the people still do it today, worldwide.
Really?
Yes, and
How come we never hear of it?
oh well,
Because there's no money in it. It's like slippery elm.
Yeah.
There's no money in it.
Right.
right.
I think since I found that out 10 years ago, I've spent, I don't know, $7, $8 on heartburn medication.
Right.
Which, if you go out buy a prescription, they're
It's expensive.
I don't know
And the
what that
doctor's
costs.
visit for him to prescribe it for you, and the test that he does to find out that that's what you need.
Now-
It's very expensive. But that's true in a lot of what we're talking about. There are so many things that honestly, if you name any medical condition and the treatment for it, there's an herb or a plant that you could grow or go pick in the woods that would help
I'm curious about
as much or more.
Native American.
Yeah,
They,
I think Bill could answer a lot on that.
There's been so much lost knowledge. And people like Ronald Berry, I often kid him about when is he going to write a book. You pick an ailment and he'll tell you what to go eat.
Yeah.
Does anybody try to connect? I mean, I don't even know who.
Oh, of course.
Right,
Yes.
right,
Yeah.
right.
Yes.
Well, even the father of medicine, Hippocrates, he basically said, "Food shall be
Hippocrates, yeah.
Hippocrates. Food shall be your medicine shall be food." You know, so he's basically telling you back, 2,500 years ago that this is the course of action to follow.
Yeah.
You know, so this is what you're talking about, this lost knowledge.
And a lot of people are looking back like that. A lot of people.
Yeah, I mean, you've had
just
a
herbalists.
culture in this country that was here before the Ice Ages, because these articles about copper being chipped off that they got out of the bottom of Lake Michigan, like Michigan, I can't
Michigan.
pronounce- Michigan, that one. But anyway, so that the only time it could have got there was before the Ice Ages. So we've had
That's right.
30,000 years of unpolluted wisdom being passed down on this stuff. And it breaks my heart to think that a lot of it's being lost because
Well, there's a lot of
religious reasons
misinformation
or-
out there, there's a lot of lies out there, but the thing is, if you keep looking and then you start to trust what you start to assimilate, you'll find that a lot of the information you're looking for will start to settle out and you'll be able to resonate with it. I'd just like to take a moment to thank our viewers at Psychic Holistic Spotlight with Leslie Wooler and Maggie Haspanian. Ken Demers and I have been blessed with their presence today, the information that they've shared with us.
third Thursday of the month,
Of every month.
7 o'clock.
The Herb Wife
Your
and
wife
Wickford.
in Wickford.
Right, right,
Go forth and learn.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's very interesting to be able to hear all the different people, all their backgrounds. It's interesting, we can name people off the top of our head that basically have so many different aspects that they share and freely. And there's no really egos or anything like
No.
that. And everybody just is comfortable with each other and they share knowledge with each other. So it's,
Yeah, we've
And
been
it's
meeting for
no
what,
boss.
6 years now?
I know, and well, who,
I know, huh?
right, right.
It's
Great.
it's a very intriguing subject. I mean, when you think of even the movie, what was it, down the Amazon, they did some on the guys with the ants and the stuff up in the trees. So there's so many different
Yeah, that was a good movie.
sources of knowledge. I mean, they're a completely different herbal background than our background because it's different herbs.
Yes.
Well, each culture has to work with what they have.
have.
But the nice thing
Right.
about it is a lot of them started to identify with the spirit, their spirit, resonating with the spirit of the plant. And being able to integrate all that information and being able to trust that intuition, such as you had mentioned before, that person that came in and the medicine was waiting for them, simply because there was an understanding on some level.
A deeper.
Right,
Yeah.
right. And I mean, it's diabetes, the Ayurvedic medicine. They used to have people urinate in a cup and throw the urine on an anthill, and the ants went after it, and that means that it has sugar in it still. And so now they use bitter lemon and stevia and things like this that cure diabetes. But you don't hear about that nowadays here in the Western culture. Two simple
What
plants.
culture was this?
Ayurvedic.
In
India.
India.
India, Tibetan, yeah. Right. So, well, thank you again very much. So, we appreciate
Yeah.
our guest tonight.
It's always fun.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes.